Looking at starting a home voiceover studio and need equipment? Or maybe facing having to replace your equipment? Tips on doing just that up next. Voiceover talent rely on their gear as well as their vocal cords to bring home the bacon and get the job done. This is especially true if you have a home studio or are looking to set one up. So, how do you do just that without breaking the bank? Let's start first with the computer system. You can't just hop on an old laptop and start recording. Your quality and your speed, everything you'll need to make sure that your equipment is running top notch, will not be there. Go to your local computer shops and comparison shop your prices and your specs. Compare that with some online forums, and you'll have a good basis on how much you're looking for a computer. They're not cheap, so be prepared. Asking your local computer shop for a computer that would be good for you doing voiceovers is not always going to get you anywhere most of the time. Remember, these guys are computer gurus and IT techs, unfamiliar with voiceovers, other than maybe in a video game perhaps. But there are always exceptions to the rules. Let them know you need a fast, stable system based on the amount of things you might need to multitask to do at once. For instance, programs that you run, Adobe Creative Suite or maybe Audition, Audacity, Reaper, Ardour, those are all DAWs. And those DAWs tend to be resource intensive. At least I've found. Adobe Audition is great. It's a wonderful platform, but at the same time, I find it uses so much resources. Remember as well, you'll have email clients. What do you use? Do you use Thunderbird? Do you use Outlook, Outlook Express, Windows Mail, your web browsers, Chrome, Firefox? How many tabs do you have open at the same time? These things eat up all of your processes on your computer and your RAM. Now, there are a number of things that affect this. A few of them are the amount of RAM or random access memory that's actually in your machine. It helps to drive the machine, give resources out to all the programs you're using. For instance, you may have 4, 8, 16 gigabyte RAM in your system. Of course, the higher the number, the more memory your machine will have to access to rely on doing its processes. Now, the other thing would be the CPU, otherwise known as the Central Processing Unit. Is it a dual core, which it seems a lot of the machines these days are, at least the base models? Or maybe a quad core. The higher the number, the more processes it can do. Quad core is faster because it can generally process 4 things at once. Basically, it's a better multitasker. A dual core can only do 2 things at once. Having a multi-core CPU means that the processor can work on more than one problem at a time, or it can work on a large problem more efficiently. If you're browsing the web, checking email, or processing audio, having multiple cores means that Core 1 can be working on, say, email, Core 2 on the web page you might be on, and Cores 3 and 4 can be working on your processing in the background. When you have a single task that needs to be done right away, multiple cores can help you by breaking the task into smaller chunks, working on each chunk in parallel, and you'll get your work done quicker. Hard drive size. Well, the more the better in my opinion. You'll be voicing audio files, and some of you may even have videos to store. This takes mucho espacio. Remember that as a VO, your files will be large, and you will need a hard drive to accommodate all of that stuff. In fact, having 2 hard drives, with one being an external hard drive where you save completed projects and working files in the event of a meltdown or unforeseen occurrence. This, to me, is a must. You can get these on Amazon, your local computer shop, etc. I'll put a link in the description below. It's really simple. It hooks up by USB cord into the computer, you plug it in, turn it on, and you can access the files on there. You can write to it or take them off, or you can leave it running while your machine is on and just use it as another drive. More space, the better. But the purpose of the external hard drive is so that if there is a meltdown and something happens to your computer system, you're not going to be out of those files. Redundancy, redundancy, redundancy. Something very popular in the computer industry. Basically, have backups upon backups upon backups. Now, one other thing. Research your reviews and benchmarks for the system, unless it's a custom build, which is awesome to do as well, if you can afford it. A system that is the fastest in its class when you buy it will continue to feel faster longer than a system that is doing pretty good when you buy it. But it all boils down to your budget. So, in purchasing that new computer system, a good rule of thumb is to buy as much processor as you can on your current budget. Don't worry, you can always upgrade. One other thing, don't forget to ensure that the system that you're getting is upgradable. What do I mean by that? You want to be able to know that you can upgrade your memory or put in a faster CPU. Say you get a 4 gigabytes of RAM. You want to know that there is enough space on the motherboard for you to be able to upgrade to, say, 8 or 16 or more gigabytes to be able to utilize it to get faster storage in the future. Now, upgrading to a faster processor is also a good idea too. So make sure that the motherboard will support you putting on a higher processor, or in that event, you get a new motherboard. So, when purchasing a new computer for VoiceOver, what is the best computer system for VoiceOver? Well, personally, I suggest a quad core, especially if you're the type like me who likes to keep, say about, a dozen or more, maybe 20, 30 tabs open while you're working. While I check my email, messages, my Twitter, the Facebook account, all at the same time. Doing that while I'm processing audio in the background, mixing it down and saving it. So a quad core can do all of that and handle it much more efficiently without lagging, which means it's going to take you less time to process those audio files in the end. I would suggest at least 8 gigabytes of RAM to help with processing speeds. But like I said, if you can't afford large amounts of RAM, make sure it's upgradable. Making sure you have at least a terabyte of hard drive space within the computer itself would be a great idea. A terabyte can hold a lot of information, videos and audio, and having that external hard drive is top notch because then all your files are held outside. So, what would I suggest? Quad core, at least 8 gigabytes of RAM, upgradable, and a terabyte of hard drive space. That would be the basics for me. Operating system, I can leave up to you. Linux, Windows, Mac, whatever you prefer. Just make sure you can upgrade. Now, for audio interfaces, most voiceover home studios will have a USB audio interface rather than a mixer board, but there are exceptions to this as well. Personally, I'm a Focusrite girl, and I love their Scarlett interfaces. In particular, the Scarlett 2i2 is what I've had since I started. It has great clarity, gain, super simple to set up, and it even comes with many bonuses from the Focusrite site, such as softwares. It comes with a DAW, Ableton Live 9, gates, compressors, EQs, and so much more. But it's a personal thing as well as quality. And no, I'm not paid to say that from Focusrite. I just don't like recommending something I haven't used myself. I also have a Steinberg as well, but I do prefer the Focusrite. Again, it's just a personal opinion and preference. Now, what's the other thing that a voiceover will need? A microphone, of course. And, well, there's some controversy here. A lot of people out there will say this brand or that brand over another, this price point over that price point, and it can be more costly to replace because some are in the thousands of dollars range. The price of the microphone doesn't necessarily mean the quality of the microphone's sound. So, how do you pick out a good microphone? Well, if you have a gaming headset with a mic and you think that you're going to get away with that, no, forget that. If you have a desktop USB mic for video conferencing, well, that's all well and good for video conferencing and using in your day-to-day operations over, say, your favorite video conferencing software, but not for voiceover. 1. You'll want a good vocal microphone and preferably a condenser large diaphragm mic. What's that? Well, if you don't know what this is, go to your local music store and tell them that you're a voiceover talent or looking to get into voiceover. If they don't know what that is, explain it to them and tell them, no, it's not singing, which I found most need to know, and let them know what it is. If they're still kind of stumped, let them know that you'll need it to capture a wide spectrum of sounds, both lows and highs. It has to have a low noise pickup. Now, some do have adjustable gain controls on them as well, so beware of that too, and it can be very helpful. But it can also lead you into some problems. I've found that going into the music stores, they have the microphones on hand. They usually have a room out back where people test their instruments, they can test the microphones and equipment before they buy them. And I love doing this. This is my candy store. Oh yeah. Let me pop into that booth and test out that mic. I love it. It's like sending a kid into a candy store. Woohoo! Fun time now. because it allows you to hear the timbre and tone quality your voice will have on that mic before you go ahead and spend the hundreds of dollars on that microphone and get home and don't like it. Or maybe your clients don't like it either. This is how I came to the Scarlett mics and now onto my Shure microphones. I love Shure. I just find that the Focusrite and the Shure have a richer tonal quality with my voice. But again, like I said, you've got to be able to check it out. If you don't have that option available to you, it's always great to ask around. I started out on the newer microphones. I thought it was great. Absolutely amazing. Got it on Amazon. I thought it sounded great. It did sound great over the computer USB microphone. If you put a USB microphone, you know those little ones on the long stick, and you use those for like Skype and that kind of thing, they might sound good at the time when you're using them if you're not used to hearing yourself on a quality microphone. Once I upgraded to the Audio-Technica AT2020, which was my first studio mic, the quality was like night and day. I listened back to the recordings of the other recordings I did on the newer and found, oh my gosh, I really recorded that. Clients really like that. Ugh. Of course, there are different processing things you can do post that can make the sound better, but the less processing you have to do, the better it is. That is why the better microphones are sought after by most voiceover talent, is because the microphone tone and clarity brings out the quality of your voiceover and means less processing in the end, which saves you time and money. Now, like I said, I started out with Audio-Technica. I do love their microphones, but then I discovered Shure, and I have not been disappointed by Shure yet. Haven't been disappointed by Audio-Technica either. I just find for my voice, the Shure microphones bring out a better tone and quality. Tip 2 for microphones, ensure you know what the pickup pattern is on the mic. The polar pattern of a microphone is the sensitivity to sound relative to the direction from which the sound arrives, or how the microphone hears sound from different directions. The most common types of directionality are omnidirectional, cardioid, and supercardioid. There's a lot more that I could get into about this, but then this would be a 3-hour video. Make sure you also know which side of the mic you need to be talking into for your pickup pattern. That's why it's so important that you know what the pickup pattern on the mic actually is, because that will determine on how you use the mic as well as position both yourself and the microphone within your studio for recording. Makes a ton of difference to the quality that you're going to produce in the end product. Now, some tips on doing this a lot cheaper than going out and buying all new. Buying new is great, but it's also expensive. If you're like me, we had a power surge here last weekend. Big bright flash of light. Then there was a boom, kind of like you see the lightning, but then you hear the thunder. That type of thing. But it wasn't thunder and lightning. Don't know what it was, but regardless, we had a power outage. Power went out, studio went down. I was mastering an audiobook at the time. Now, I didn't save my work. It was something I had just started. I was about probably a quarter way through the chapter when everything went down. I lost all that time. In mastering, that is one of the things that takes the longest amount of time to do, and not something this little VO is very happy to have to do, but it is part of the job. We all have our favorite parts of it. That isn't mine. But we do it anyway, because it is what it is. Now, where can you go to buy your equipment? And I would suggest a fourth thing being investing in a really good surge protection bar. I don't mean just something you can pick up at Home Hardware or Home Depot that has a surge protector in it, or maybe the dollar store, because that's not a good thing either. But looking for, my favorite would be the Belkin bar. Comes with a surge protector and you know your equipment is going to be safe. It also comes with a warranty and a guarantee of replacement should that fail, which is absolutely amazing. So keep the receipt and the warranty with that. Now, Amazon has 2-day delivery. I'm an Amazon girl. It gets shipped directly to you. They have 2-day and in some instances 1-day turnaround for getting you your items. But you have to be in a major city where this is available. So check your Amazon account to see if that option is available to you. But they have a wide selection of brands available from small mics right on up to a lot more expensive items. Again, 2-day turnaround and you're up and running. Bing, bang, boom. Second option would be your local pawn shops, electronic shops, and music stores. Usually, they'll have a good selection of used mics and interfaces that you can purchase, as well as options to buy new. Apparently, at this point, Galen and Blake are saying, Hello, everyone. Your local electronics stores usually have used mics and interfaces that you can purchase, as well as new options. This might save you some money as well as time, and you might even be able to get a higher quality mic and audio interface than you would over buying new or your local music store. Third option is keep an eye out on your local Facebook or classified sales websites, or in your local newspaper. Usually there's a buy and sell area here with a forum for you to delve through and buy. Although this and option 2 are a little more riskier, and you have to ensure to be able to test out the product before buying, or you may wind up spending more because you'll then have to go out and repurchase something that actually does work. This one is kind of buyer beware. And don't forget that Belkin bar, which is what I use over anything else. But then again, that's a personal preference. It's up to you if you have another brand or option that works best for you. Hopefully you found this to be helpful if you're looking at setting up a home studio, or maybe if you're looking at being down because of a power outage like myself, and how to get back up and running as quickly as possible. One other little tip, always save your work as much as possible, especially if you're mastering, because the worst thing is to have something happen in the middle after you've been working a few hours on mastering that long-form narration. But hey, even if you're only doing small projects, mastering takes a while, and having to redo a half hour's work, even 10-20 minutes worth of work, is more than annoying. So make sure that you always save often. That's my tips for the day. I've got to get back into the studio and back to voicing. Remember, everyone, if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell button. Now get on out